Hi, this is Beth with a little bit of Beth. Just a little snippet to help you on your journey towards self-awareness and to have some understanding about how you show up in the world and how that impacts you and how it impacts others. Today I want to talk about the individualist and the collective. So many times we are really focused on who am I as an individual. But then there's other times when we really need to be present in terms of the collective. What is the good of the whole? And how am I showing up to support the good of the whole? It's interesting because we frequently think of things in terms of either or. Are you an individualist? Or are you someone who's very concerned with the good of the whole? Well, you know what? It's a spectrum. We move along the spectrum depending on the situation. And what helps us analyze the situation, evaluate the situation, is social and emotional awareness. Developing our emotional competency, understanding my desires, my needs, my emotions, who I am, how I operate, what my work style is, and then understanding how if I just stay in that place focused on my individualism, sometimes there's chafing within what the collective needs. And so the key is to simply be able to sit back and assess the situation and understand, is this the appropriate time for me to insert my individual strengths? What I need from meeting or group or initiative or project? Or is this time for me to be thinking about what does the group need? What does the team need? I was doing some research for a keynote that I'm doing next week with managers from all across California. And as I was doing some research, I just heard this great term, which is organizations are fabulous incubators for growing and developing emotional intelligence. And then we can take what we learn in that environment, what we practice, what we experience, what we observe about ourselves, and we can transfer that out into other parts of our lives. The parts that probably at the end of the day matter the most. So, individualism, collectivism. Do a little research on it. Think about it, and then begin to evaluate. How and when do I move along that spectrum? There's room for all of us. There's room for me when I'm being my individual self, and there's room for me when I'm focused on the collective. And you know what? There's room for you too. All right. Have a great day. That's your little bit of Beth for today. I look forward to connecting with you soon.